Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the most underrated games of the PlayStation 4 slash PlayStation 5 era of single player games. For one, I can never forgive Crystal Dynamics for making the Avengers game, which in turn led to people not wanting to buy this game. For those of you who don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy is a single player action adventure game where you play as Star-Lord, while also being able to give combat and traversal commands to the other Guardians in the game. The Guardians, to give you the rundown of the story, essentially, the Guardians get arrested by the Nova Corps and are released on the condition that they pay their fine because they're let off easily because of Star-Lord's relation with the captain, Kal-El. But when we eventually get our money, which we then rob from Lady Hellbender, another antagonist in the game, we find that the Nova Corps are being controlled and manipulated by a cult called the Church, who plan to then spread their cult across the entire galaxy, basically brainwashing everybody in the galaxy to follow their movement or their religion, basically. And it's not really, the game doesn't really have a complex plot. It's a simple plot, really. But the sense of unity and family within the game, that's what carries the story of the game, basically. The gameplay and the story, in my opinion, are both amazing in this game. Like, both of them. The gameplay seems simplistic, but it has a bunch of complexities within the game that you really have to, like, you can beat the game without learning those complexities, but it probably won't be as much fun for you. Like, during the game, the premise of the combat in this game is you play as Star-Lord and you have his guns and you shoot, basically. That's about it. You also have hand-to-hand combat, but that's just mash and square. Where the appeal of the combat comes in is the other Guardians in which you give commands to. Like, you don't play as Drax or Rocket or Gamora or Groot or any of them characters, but you hold down L1 and you have 4 options, basically, when they're fully upgraded. And you can choose, they have a variety of abilities. Like Gamora, she's more of a damage dealing character, where she's the type of character who will deal a lot of damage with her sword and her combat capabilities. Or with Drax, he's the type of character where, since he's super strong and powerful, he deals a bunch of stagger damage. Like, he deals a bunch of, like, he can stun the enemy very well, essentially. He's also a damage type of character, but not as much as Gamora. While Groot, he's more about holding a character, like, he has abilities where he can hold an enemy down with his roots, or he has one attack ability, and he's more of a healer kind of character. While Rocket, he's the arsenal, basically. He's the one with the bombs and the gadgets and the guns and the stuff to basically hold the enemy in place. Your use of their abilities is what makes the combat so fun, essentially, because you can combine their abilities, you can combine their different attacks and abilities to then make the gameplay easier for you, basically. Because I played this game on hard mode, so it basically forces you to use their abilities to the max potential, basically, because that's why I like playing hard mode in games, because it forces you to really know and learn the mechanics. Like, if you try to play on hard mode and you just try to go guns a-blazing with Star-Lord, you're not gonna do anything, basically. You're not gonna get anywhere. Or maybe you will, but it's gonna be very hard for you. It'll be very difficult for you. Also, with Star-Lord, there's more complexities to his gameplay. I was tripping. He also has elements within his guns that he can use to deal damage to enemies who have weaknesses to them elements. Like, he has fire, wind, ice, and electricity, and a variety of enemies are weak to these certain elements, in which you may use to attack them, basically, deal higher damage to them. These elemental weapons are also used as puzzles within the game to traverse, or get past in an obstacle in the game. They use for puzzles basically. The Guardians are also used for puzzles in which they can, like Drax, since he's super strong, you would use him to like move a heavy rock out the way or to bust through a door. Or Gamora, if you need something cut down or something sliced in half, she'll do that. Or Rocket, if you need him to hack something or to fit into somewhere small, he can do that. The Guardians in this game, both in gameplay and in story, are very essential. It's like the team, essentially, you can tell that they all need to be together, both story wise and gameplay wise, to get it done. Basically, like is the essence and the spirit of it being a team is what makes this game so very special and unique to me, because usually in superhero games we don't really have a lot of team up superhero games. The only game that I can think of right now is Marvel's Avengers, and nobody really likes that game, for real. Nobody. I don't know anybody who would call that game a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Basically, that game is very mid, extremely mid, because I don't know why they didn't just go the single player route with that game, but I digress. The story in this game, like I said before, it's not very complex. It doesn't have a huge plot twist, or it doesn't have a bunch of I know I'm repeating myself, but complexities. Basically, it doesn't have a whole lot of complexities to it. But where the game shines is the relationship between each of the Guardians, which then in turn is challenged and grown throughout the entirety of the game. Like, for example, spoilers. I know this game came out in like 2023 or whatever, but if you haven't played the game, go play it for yourself, because this is a very good game. So if you haven't played it, go play it for yourself, come back, and then watch the review. But the story in this game, the relationship between the characters in this game is tested throughout the entirety of the story, and it's tested in a way where they're essentially tested one by one, the relationships between the characters. And I think that's very important as well, because when they're tested one-on-one, it puts a microscope on the character and that relationship towards Star-Lord, which is essentially the player. So you can basically, you play as Star-Lord, so you can put himself in, you could put yourself in his shoes, basically, in turn, which can, relate to you. So, for example, spoilers once again, but Rocket and Groot near the beginning of the game leave the team. They go off, they have a disagreement with Star-Lord during the main story, and they go off on their own. Groot doesn't really want to leave, but because Rocket is upset, he goes with him, because that's his homie, basically. That's his best friend. And so we have to go to a distant planet on Nowhere, and they trying to find them. Or not really. There was a different reason for them being on Nowhere, but them finding Rocket and Groot was also an objective, like to bring them back to their team. And they eventually do reunite, but they hash it out, basically. They understand, like, Rocket doesn't feel respected by Star-Lord because he doesn't listen to his ideas, while Star-Lord is like, he's basically like, you can't listen to your ideas all the time because you ain't always right. And I agree with him. I really did not like Rocket's character in the beginning of the game. I know it's part of his character, but he just seemed really childish, and like a bunch of what he was saying just didn't make sense. He basically wanted everybody to follow his lead 100% of the time, when it's shown a whole lot in the game that a lot of times he don't be thinking things through, even though he's a genius. But I digress. There's also Drax, who is tested when he accepts the promise in this game. And the promise in this game is basically a manipulation of the church, which I spoke of previously, in which they manipulate the victim into thinking that they're reunited with their loved ones who passed away. Basically, it's basically their paradise, but it's like a manipulation. And so we then, the Guardians, in turn, have to save Drax from falling too deep into the promise and being manipulated and brainwashed. And so we have to go deep into his brain. We have to uncover the traumatic experience of him losing his wife and daughter, basically. And so in turn, we learn, the Guardians in turn help Drax to learn or accept that they are his family and his loved ones, which in turn leads to huge character development for Drax. You know what I'm saying? And I forgot to mention, every time that the characters go through this big development or they go through this huge obstacle for their character, it leads to a big upgrade in their gameplay to where they have this special move that they learn, which I thought was a very good implement. You know what I'm saying? It's storytelling, not only in the story, but also in gameplay as well. So lastly, Gamora, who she had like, besides from Groot, because Groot was really going along with Rocket for real, but she had the least amount of like what do I call it? Character obstacles, basically. I feel like they basically just shoehorned it in just to give her something else or to give everybody a little something, basically. But her thing was she killed her sister Nebula, and because of that, she sees herself as a monster, and she sees what the church is doing to children and how they're hurting children, and she compares that to her father Thanos, who was also an abusive parental figure towards her. So not only does she see herself as a monster, but she also sees every child being hurt as not necessarily her fault, but her responsibility to correct or to fix. And once again, the Guardians, it is a beautiful scene, really, where they accept her basically and help her understand that she's not a monster and that they all family and, you know, all that mushy stuff, basically. But I said all this to emphasize the fact that the plot, like I spoke about the plot is very simple, really. The plot is not the main focus or the main story beat of this game, basically. It's completely 100% about the Guardians. It's about, this game is the epitome of, it's not about the journey, or it's not about the end, it's about the journey. Or it's not about the destination, it's the journey. There you go. But yeah, it's about the Guardians growing closer as a family, basically. It's about them learning to accept each other for their differences and accepting each other as they are, basically. And I like that as the game goes on and as they grow closer, the gameplay also emphasizes that. Like during the game, like I said before, they have puzzles that you can do. Like, for example, with Groot, you would have to, as Star-Lord, you would have to command him to make a bridge for them to get across somewhere, basically, right? But across the game, as the game goes on and as everybody grows closer and as everybody gains more experience, Groot will do this action by himself. And that goes for other characters as well. If you need Drax to move a rock, he'll move it by himself. Or if you need Gamora to cut something down, she'll do that by herself. You need Rocket to hack something, he'll do that by himself. It will be like a little dialogue. And Star-Lord, the character that we play as, even says this. He's like, oh, look at so-and-so taking initiative. He even says this in the game, basically. And I think that's just a beautiful way of implementing story and gameplay and then intertwining it, basically. Like this game is so good. This game is one of the best superhero games ever, basically. This game should be in the same realm as Arkham Asylum, or as the Arkham games, as Spider-Man. And I'm really scared that this game will not get a sequel, basically. Like, because of the sales was so bad, because everybody thought that this game was going to be the Avengers game, basically. And because of that, nobody bought the game. And since when nobody buys the game, now the company is thinking, okay, they didn't like this, we want something new. But in actuality, everybody did like this game. The only reason nobody bought it is because they thought it was gonna be a whole bunch of microtransactions. Everybody who played this game at least has this game rated at like an 8 out of 10. At least. It's just nobody bought the game because they were scared of having to pay to have this costume or having to pay to get this ability. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say not online, but microtransactions ruin games. Keep that microtransactions over there on multiplayer games. Know what I'm saying? On single player games, just leave it be. Know what I'm saying? Like you think they would learn by now with Avengers, Suicide Squad, and all these other games, but I'm ranting. This supposed to be about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm ranting basically. But I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I was ranting about microtransactions, but yes. Another thing with the Guardians of the Galaxy is that I really like was the boss fights. There wasn't a lot in this game. There wasn't a lot, but when there were, that was when the game was at its best for me. The best part of video games for me is when you're playing it and you forget that you're playing a game and it feels like a movie, basically. Like playing a superhero game and it feels like a superhero movie. Like when you do something in the gameplay that's so cool, it's like, oh, that was basically like from a movie scene. And I'm not talking about quick time events either. I'm talking about like actually playing the game. And so when it has these big cinematic boss, like Fin Fang Foom, for example, I love Fin Fang Foom's boss fight in this game. I feel like it is one of the best boss fights that I've ever played. And I'm not saying that it has the most like complex gameplay or that it's the most intricate boss, but I am saying that it's like, for me, especially in superhero games, a boss fight needs to be cinematic and it has to be large in scale, basically. And I'm saying fighting a big powerful dragon in the Icelands while he's shooting fire and icicles at you, that's the definition of cinematic, basically, especially in the Guardians game. And that's another thing. The settings in this game are beautiful. Like I've said it before, but this is an example of why art is so important in video games. The art direction is way more important than graphical fidelity, basically. That I feel like game developers need to focus more on art direction compared to graphical fidelity. Because we've reached the peak. I'm saying it's not gonna get no better in terms of how realistic something can look. Like unless they just pull something out. Like if it does, then I'll eat my words. But I don't think it's getting any better than The Last of Us Part 2. But that, like, the art direction in this game, the scenery, especially it being a game about being in space, so they got really creative with it. And with it being set in the Marvel universe, they have a whole bunch of intricate like cameos and little Easter eggs for you. Like at one part in the game, you were traversing, I don't even know where we were, but I think it was like different multiverses or different dimensions, and you can hear Captain America say "Avengers Assemble" in one portal, or you can hear somebody say, "Hey, it's Spider-Man" in another. Like little cameos like that. Like, know what I'm saying? It's like for little cameos like that for people who are more appreciative of superhero games. It's not big, but it's nice to have in a game, basically. But this game, I've said it before and I'll say it again, is extremely underrated. This game has intricate little details that make a game what it is. Like it's intricate. It's little tiny things that you don't notice, but are there. And the more tiny things that they add, the more it adds up, and the more you come to understand that the game itself is a masterpiece. I'm not calling this game a masterpiece, but because I don't think the game is a masterpiece. I reserve that for like I reserve that for very special titles to me, basically. But you can tell that this game is special basically. And it didn't get the love that it deserved. Like, when I say little details, like, for example, throughout the game, it's like the dialogue in the game while you're playing the gameplay, right? Like, so if there's a certain way that you have to go to get to your next objective, and you go a different way to like get a costume or to get different items or something, the characters will call it out. They'll be like, hey, what's so and so doing? Or hey, or they'll like have banter with each other or make fun of you for going the wrong way. Because it's obvious that you're supposed to go the other way, but because you know you're playing the video game, you're gonna go get this item or get this costume or get this, that, and the third, basically. And it's little things like that. It's little banter like that. And it's not even just like, it's even in the hub area, like the ship area that you fly around in, basically, your home, basically. And you can converse with the Guardians, and it's little banter like that that makes them seem like more of a family, makes them seem like friends, basically, like real life friends. It makes them seem like there's history with these characters beyond just this game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel like these characters really know each other, like they're really like alive. And there's little things like that that add up and make a game truly, truly special. That's what I think this game is. This game is one of the best superhero games of all time. It deserves more respect, and I will forever be mad at Crystal Dynamics until they fix their mistake, or unless I get a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with this exact same cast. I don't want a different Guardians of the Galaxy game. I want this. I want another Guardians of the Galaxy game with mechanics like where they can add on to the command mechanic, where they give, I don't know, where they give each character more commands, or maybe you can control the different Guardians. I don't know, but I want a Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Until I get it, I won't forgive Crystal Dynamics. I can't forgive them. I don't care if they make an Avengers 2 and it's one of the best games of all time. Well, maybe I'll forgive them then, but that's not happening. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 deserves more respect. It deserves a sequel. One of the best superhero games of all time, and I'm standing on it. But that's all I gotta say. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you watching my video, and I appreciate you. Oh, I forgot to rate the game. Hold on now. God, I give this game an 8.5 out of 10. 8.5. I could be convinced to give it to 9. I'll give it a 9, but I think I'm gonna stick with 8.5 out of 10. Maybe if I revisit the game, I'll give it a 9. But I'm sticking with 8.5. 8.5 out of 10 for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Amazing game. But that's all I gotta say, basically. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you watching my video, and I appreciate you supporting my videos in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate the support. Peace.